As that will be kicking off next week as well. So, yeah, if there was ever time to be active, it would be right now. But speaking of active, we are now going to be on Hardwire LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We, of course, have our purple Protoss player coming down from the land of Sydney. He is going to be representing himself. Chappie over here, the mental warfare question mark. Chase as well in spirit, even though not physically. Clan Licks, of course, is what I'm alluding to. We have Pezz
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Hardwire LE, we have the Australian Terran player himself representing Opus V. It is Azure.
Who probably isn't going to be as vulnerable to probably isn't going to be as vulnerable to a a non-standard build coming out from Pezz.
Yeah, again, like it's such a shame. Like both these players are such like high-profile players, you know. I would love them both to qualify for the closed qualifiers, but there can be only one, and this is hard to call because again, Pezz against any Zerg player like in the bracket, including like players like Ender and even me or Micah, I'd be like, nah, yeah, Pezz, nah, I believe. But against Azure, like it's a little bit harder to call, you know, like he's you know, got plenty up his sleeve for this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. We talk a lot about Azure and how versatile he can be in all of his matchups, but especially for PvT, he has a lot of different ways of going about it, but he has such an active harassment style in the matchup that for a lot that tends to overwhelm a lot of more Protoss players than not.
Yeah, and hey, like divulging a little bit here, if you recall yesterday Zane played in the qualifiers. Azure actually wanted to play against him. He was like, bring me Zane, let's go. So he goes to show how confident he can be, and mate, he is pulling a little bit of a Cure.
You love to see it. Well, at least when Cure's not the one doing it. As Azure is going for a 3-rack style, can be a little bit harder to pull off on Hardwire. Again, it is a pretty wide open map and a pretty long rush distance as well, but very straightforward one as well. You know, because of that, Pezz may be feeling a bit of a false sense of security.
Yeah, like unfortunately Pezz just hasn't really been able to see too much, not yet. He hasn't been able to find his way into the main base or anything like that. He has been looking for proxies, specifically things along the lines of proxy starports, which again, Azure has done time and time again. Pezz is still looking, by the way, just in case, just to make sure he's safe and sound. But because of all of this, he hasn't been able to see anything in said main, and this stim, it's on the way.
Oh yeah, slowly but surely. And you know, I was actually gonna say, I feel like if you're gonna do a 3-racks build on Hotwire, you might as well proxy it, but I guess Azure and Pezz have played against each other a lot. Pezz is being very vigilant scouting for proxies, so I'm sure Azure is aware of that and decided, you know what, this is gonna mess with him a little bit better.
I just love that both players have. Like, Azure with 2 Marines, he was looking everywhere for like a proxy Stargate or anything crazy as well. So both of them, they don't trust each other at all.
Yeah.
Like, I know you would do me dirty, mate. I know. Oh god. And for the time being, this is still going to go unscattered. I say for the time being because here we go, the first observer is out for Pezz. It's going to be zooming across the map and getting into the main base of Azure to see what is going on. And that'll be the first big inkling for Pezz as he takes a third.
I have to worry a little bit for Pezz though. Is this observer too late to the party? As Stim is about to be finished, it's about 80% done, and yeah, typically even before Stim finishes up, you'll see the Terran player starting to move across the map.
Yeah. I think the other interesting thing is that, again, Azure has also been playing very blind. He doesn't know what his opponent's doing, so he gets a blind missile turret here in between his bases, which makes a lot of sense. You know, for all he knows, it could have been a DT opener. So he's being very careful about this. He was even positioning his army just in case there was an Oracle. And now here we go. Finally, the Observer gets in.
CC's Marauders and Pezz is going to be maneuvering back around just to double check, but he knows that it's on. He knows that he has to play very, very defensive. He has Blink, so he's going to try to pick off a couple of units before retreating back to a safer location.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. The big role here for Pezz is he has to try and slow this down. There are no medevacs here, so any dead Marine is a good Marine for Pezz. Like, he needs to be able to chip away at this army as best he can. Meanwhile, we did see a scan. An Observer was picked off, but we do have another.
Are those Observers actually digging into his supply? I guess not yet. He only has 2 of them. So, yeah, Pezz can definitely afford this. And again, this is not an all-in by any means from Azure. You know, it's a very committed push. He has to do damage, but you know, as long as he gets a base, he's fine.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised there was no shield battery here at the 3rd base, only at the natural. So this army's looking a little bit exposed. He dies onto the Immortal!
And he will be able to kill it. Azure says, that's a very tempting 3rd base, but I know I can get even more damage.
Very nicely done here by Azure, trading so well with this army. Eventually, he will get cleaned up. But for the price of 7 probes and an Immortal, was this worth it? It's kind of the big question.
Yeah, that's a bit of a trickier one here. You know, it's not quite the same as, say, killing a 3rd.
Yeah.
At that point, it's very clear-cut, well worth it to lose an army like that. But 7 probes isn't bad. Killing an Immortal also isn't bad. How many units did Azure lose? 21 Marines and 4 Marauders, so I feel like he kind of broke even.
Yeah. Like, I don't blame him for going for the Immortal because I feel like he had a choice to make. It's either I go for the Immortal and get probes, or I just get the Nexus and leave the Immortal alive. And if that happens, then he leaves himself quite vulnerable to a pretty terrifying army, right? Like, this army, like, Immortals are no joke, especially against Marauders. So, you know, I guess he felt a little bit safer trading with the army instead, and now he's going for a bit of a follow-up, but this time, oh, Pezz, he has charge.
Yes, charge, he has eyes on the army. It's gonna be a little bit tougher for Azure to maneuver, but, you know, that's what I really like about his TvP. He's gonna try to be active on the map regardless. He knows now that Pezz is pushing into him, so he's going to regroup with the rest of his army, but yeah, Azure just doesn't like staying at home in TvP.
Yeah, exactly, as he's going to try and engage here with said army. The War Prism isn't here, so the Immortal's looking a little bit vulnerable, but there we go, we do have a couple of force fields. At the same time, the War Prism gets into the main.
And we see a mass warp into Zealots right now, catching Azure completely off guard. Trying to fight with Marauders and SCVs, but he's going to have to give up his mining for the time being.
Yeah, exactly, man. He is so committed. He wants to chase down this army, but no, in the end, he turns around.
This is pretty devastating, not gonna lie. Now, Azure does have 3 bases. He does have 3 orbital commands, so he can recover. And after killing that Warp Prism, before the Warp can finish up, things are suddenly looking so well for Azure.
Yeah, mate, the worker counts aren't too different. Oh my god! Okay, we have Blink. It's all good. But the Widowmines do survive. And because the worker count is pretty similar and Azure is expanding and taking 3rd base, mate, this is looking incredibly good for Azure.
Yeah, he's still a little bit bloodlusted. He still wants to push across the map, but his army is so stemmed. He barely has energy on those medevacs, so he recognizes that. He's going to slow down a little bit. You know, work on saturating his 3rd and then gear up for round 2.
Yeah, exactly. Because of this, he's going to be giving Pezz a little bit of time here. Pezz, with that time, is going to be able to take down this. Oh! Try and take down this Widowmine. He's working on some upgrades back at home. Forge is on the way. And his choice of splash damage. No Robotics Bay, instead, Templar Archives.
Yeah, which is a little bit surprising to me. I feel like we have seen Storm fall off of favor a little bit in PvT, specifically because of how common ghosts are in the matchup nowadays.
Yes, oh my god, the Widowmine!
Not going to be enough to kill that Warp Prism, but going to be enough for Marines to one-shot it.
Yeah, exactly. The War Prism survives again, buying Pezz even more time. To be fair, I don't think Azure was really thinking about moving out quite yet anyway, but in comes Pezz.
Yeah, it was a kill on that missile turret, not a cancel, and even though Azure wasn't planning on moving out, this does split up his army quite a bit. Pezz, you could see it in his eyes. He was thinking, all right, I could maybe go for a multi-prong, but after confirming how massive Azure's army was, he does not like his chances at all anymore.
Yeah, and you were talking about Ghost. The Ghost Academy is now on the way, but it's not going to be ready for the fight. Like, Storm is about to finish up in a couple of seconds, and High Templar were warped in well ahead of time.
And completely unscouted, too.
Yeah. God.
If Azure decides to go up this ramp, and he does, he might be met with a nasty surprise.
Yeah, there's the first handful of storms here, keeping Azure at bay. We have one more storm in the chamber, only one, but that's enough to pull Azure back, and at the same time, the War Prism comes back in.
Very well done by Pezz here. Recognizes that there's nothing defending that third base anymore with that move out of the Bio army. So he goes in, kills 12 more workers. Finally, the War Prism is dealt with. But the damage has already been done.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine a world where the War Prism was sniped by the Widowmine and by that missile turret. Ah, God, it was so close from happening. In the end, it did not. Now Pezz, he's ahead. He's got his third base up and running. He's lacking a little bit in High Templar. He doesn't have that many storms with this army, so he has to be a little bit careful here.
Yeah, and I gotta say, even though Azure was lacking Ghosts during that engagement, the splits were fantastic from him. You know, you only had a handful of Marauders standing in a storm at a time. It's gonna be a little bit trickier though, now that there is an Archon.
Yeah, there is that Archon. It has a bit of a buffer for the rest of the army. We have 2 storms available for Pezz. Up!
And there's one of them.
Yeah, very juicy connection there. He has another one behind this as well. Goes for a bit of a recall.
But doesn't recall everything. So his army is split up quite a bit. Azure can absolutely stim on forward and try to take this. There's one more storm. There's one more storm. There is no more storm.
And that was a pretty devastating trade there for Pezz. One, the recall was forced, and look at Thena's lost tab. He lost his Archon. He lost, what was that, an Immortal and 2 High Templar. He only has 1 High Templar left here with the army.
Yeah, not a lot of storm potential with just 1 High Templar, but Pezz is kind of aware of that. He has switched gears. He is going for Colossus now instead.
Yeah, I'm just worried because we're not ready for Colossus. Like, what I mean by that is we don't have extended thermal lance, so the Colossus aren't going to be that amazing, but we do have a bit of a Zealot Ramai here instead, and Azure, there is not really much here at home at all, so what, 4 Zealots, force 0 mining at the third? Not bad.
But we got SCVs. Chasing back the Zealots for now, as Azure has recognized that he has a much better army than Pezz. You know, he still has to be careful. He still has to come in from an angle. He cannot sit in too many storms. But there's a lot of potential for a push to deal damage right now for Azure.
Yeah, meanwhile, that was the final storm available for Pezz, but you could argue that it's okay because the Colossus are coming out.
You could argue that it's okay. I wouldn't know.
How powerful is 1 Colossus mate? Well, you know what? We're soon to have another, and we have another warp in.
Yeah, and honestly, look at how overstint this army is. So while there are a lot of Marauders, the Colossus can still smite them down. God, at the same time, another Zealot run by at the third base. Another 2 SCVs go down. We do have a mass drop. Yo, the Colossus! Yeah, this Colossus is so exposed.
He wants the
long Immortals that he drops, and right on top of the Colossus. A very old school Heart of Swarm maneuver there. But a lot of medvacs are being picked off. A lot of bio units are getting picked off. And I think Pezz has weathered the storm long enough. He's been on 4 bases for the past 5 or so minutes. He has had a decent worker saturation on them. So despite a lot of high-tech units being taken out, he can afford these losses that Azure cannot.
Yeah, I mean, mate, he's up a base, you know, he's got a pretty good economy right now, despite not having a certain thermal lance. Like, he's been able to trade a little bit more efficiently, and Azure is running out of steam. Like, the constant lifting of the third base really has hindered Azure.
And now he's kind of paying the price for it, trying to get a 4th now, but I think it's too little too late.
Yeah, exactly. We have a bit of a double drop here. Even a drop in the main base at the same time for Azure. I think he knows he can't really fight the main army. Not anymore. So instead he's going for, in a way, a bit of evasion, but he recalls!
Yeah, nice forcing on the recall there. And even takes out that pylon just as it was starting to warp in. So, again, just little things that Azure is trying to do right now to keep himself in the game. But he needs to do this a lot more times, or a very big maneuver soon, in order to start turning things around. I'm not sure what a big maneuver would be, though. So, yeah, I guess he just needs to do a lot of little drops.
Yeah, which he has been doing. Don't get us wrong, like, he has been dealing some damage, but at this point it is a little bit too late. There was a period earlier on where there was a timing where Azure was ahead, but that time has come and gone, and now Pezz, oh my god, he is skyrocketing in supply.
Yeah, he's almost maxed out. Azure still only halfway there. Medivacs being picked off as they try to retreat. Stalkers sitting on top of the bio. This is, to be fair, it has looked done for a while, but now I think it's actually, done.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the natural is completely forfeit. We do have another drop across the map, and again, Azure is being as annoying as possible with these drops, even picking up a couple more High Templar with full energy and taking down the base. This is great and all, but again, it's just a bit of a shame because this is still not anywhere near enough.
GG is called, and Pezz takes game number 1.
GG.
Well played.
Oh boy, and again, even though he did take the first game, like, that game was honestly pretty back and forth.
It was very, very close. There were a lot of times where, even though it did kind of feel like Pezz generally had the advantage in that game, there were a lot of times where you could see it from in the engagements and in the positioning of Azure, he was pulling ahead. It definitely looked like he could have turned things around massively. And he did every now and then, but those times where he was starting to turn the tide was a little bit too late economically.
Yeah. A lot of it did just come down to the constant Zealot harass. Like, I think what's crazy about it is that half of the Zealot harass was just Pezz warping in at home and just running across the map, like, yeah. It's not like he had a proxy warp in location. Half the time he didn't even have his warpism alive. He just kept consistently sending zealots time and time again, and unfortunately Azure just was never, or more often than not, he just wasn't ready for them. He didn't have any supply at home, didn't have like a bunker or any kind of Sim City or Widow Mines, or if he did, like, it just wouldn't be enough either. Yeah. GG.
And yeah, you know what? You were right. I didn't even notice that in about the second half of that game there wasn't a warp prism or a fort pylon, but that warp prism from the first half of the game,
yeah,
the absolute MVP. I feel like the moment where Pezz was able to sneak a warp in that took out 12 SCVs or something in the third base, that kind of cemented his lead for the rest of the game. And it was a long game at that. But that was Hardwire. This is Berlingrad, as game number 2 is what we're jumping in on. In the bottom right corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom right hand corner, we of course have our purple Protoss player coming down from the land of Sydney. He's going to be representing himself, Clan Blix, and old mate Chappie here. Look at him blazing it. He is the purple Protoss player, Prince Beza Harry. Pezz. Melbourne. There we go. I said Sydney like 5 times this broadcast. But, we're only now catching. I knew he lived in the south somewhere.
There you go. And sporting in the top left-hand corner of Berlingrad ALE, we have the Australian Terran player himself. He is blue, representing Team OPSV. It is Azure.
That's how I remember cities in Australia.
What?
You have Brisbane in the north.
Yeah.
You have Melbourne and Sydney in the south. And then you have Perth in Singapore. It's in the east, which makes it the same time zone.
What? No, it's in the west. Wait. No,
Wait,
yeah,
west,
to the west.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
west,
like,
west,
I was
west,
like, what are you
yes.
saying?
I said west, yes. West.
God damn it.
I think I said east, but I meant west. I meant west.
Oh god, it's fine. No, Perth is in Singapore, Brazil is in Europe. You know, it's it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Perth is in Southeast Asia, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Oh god. But yeah, here we go. We're getting into game number 2 here, and once again, a very different opener. Pezz actually opening up with double adept. Oh my god.
In a PvT? Not something you see too often.
Yeah, the goal here, I mean, this is a nice adaptation, I think specifically for Berlingrad. Because the map is so small, he can zoom across the map and get over here into the natural base, and again, ideally, shut down this SCV.
That CC is just never going to get built, is it?
Oh god. Not again, not again. Was it you who I was casting with, where there was like a CC that just took like half an hour to build?
Because probes kept killing it?
Yeah.
Piglet versus Quantel,
That's it. Oh god, and he gets here just in time, just in the nick of time. He takes down the SCV seconds before, or like 1 second before the CC finishes.
That's always feels bad, man.
Hey, this is calculated.
It's calculated to maximize the tilt potential.
You're like, I can't get there too early. I have to get there just before it finishes, just to bother Azure that much more.
But when it's all said and done, not the biggest of deals for Azure.
Yeah, just a slight economic advantage here for Pezz being able to delay it. And oh my god, immediately after this, he does take his third.
May as well, you know, could when you're ahead, get further ahead. Very nice micro on these stalkers. And Pezz can just keep on going.
Oh god, at the same time, a Hellion does get across the map. There is no wall, there are no units to defend. So this Hellion is also getting a surprising amount of probe damage.
Yeah, 3 so far, and looks like, I mean, there is potential for him to get even 6 probes. Like so, forces a warping back at home. And Stalkers being a little bit preoccupied does mean that Pezz can't continue to be annoying across the map. Well, he can, but not as annoying as he could be.
Yeah, I mean, he's denying a lot of mining here. He did get behind the mineral line. He's doing a great job at avoiding all these Widowmine shots, and he has traded so well with these Marines.
Yeah, even recalls out, so he only loses 1 Stalker. This is calculated. I don't even want to look at the unit slots. Actually, the unit slots tab, pretty similar.
I was afraid to look at how many Marines had died. Yeah, 10 Marines in total. My oh my. Meanwhile, Pezz, he's not done with his aggression. He is throwing down a proxy pylon.
May as well. Berlingrad may be a short map, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to, you know, get whatever advantage you can get.
Yeah, I think Pezz wants to ape Azure. He's with this third Nexus, there it is. I was like, there's gonna be a gateway explosion. The gateway explosion is real. He's gonna go mass charge lots with the mass amount of minerals that this man is gonna have. He's only working off of 1 gas, Yaku.
Yeah, where we're going, we don't need no gas.
We don't need no gas, mate. We need legs. That's all we need. Oh god.
We don't need to drive. We can just walk.
We can just run, mate. Oh no.
Who needs gas when you can run faster?
Looking at the vision here from Azure, he just hasn't seen anything here. Earlier, he was across the map with his Hellion, but again, not seeing the gases at that time wasn't the biggest tell at all. And he just hasn't really been able to get another scout. He didn't go for a Widowmine drop. He didn't go for Raven harass or Banshee harass or anything like that earlier. So he's just in the dark, and he won't see this until it's in his face.
And he was in the dark, but he's going to see the light pretty soon.
Oh god.
We're getting knocked out.
Yeah, we have 11 zealots in total. We have that warping location as well. Just continue to pump out as many zealots as possible. Sure, we have a Widowmine, but it is only 1, and the tank is exposed. He's trying to dive on top of it. Oh, he goes to the bunker.
Yeah, he can't repair that. And there is a tank. I didn't even notice it. Yeah, behind the mineral line.
Yeah, questionable move not to dive on top of the tank. Now the wall is a wall. Azure immediately working on his SimCity.
And is it going to be good enough? The tank actually doing a little bit of friendly fire here, but the SCVs are doing a great job of body blocking. Not a good enough job, though, as the tank does go down in the end. Raven doesn't have any more energy on it. The bunker should finish up, and there are a couple of Marines here to get back in. So, honestly, so far, Pezz has been able to do some good damage, but if Azure is able to survive for long enough, then I say he'll be at an advantage, but Pezz has kind of recognized that he didn't do the damage that he wanted to do, and gets a 4th base up and running. So, yeah, this was a Pezz who was thinking, and that's terrifying.
Oh my god, this is the power of Swarm Toss. People may be like, how can he afford all of this? He's on 4 bases compared to a Terran who's on 2. Well, this is because he hasn't been taking his gases. This is because he hasn't been taking up too much. He's only been relying on the Twilight Council and only just now working on his Robo. So because of that, he's had all these spare resources to spend elsewhere in these Nexuses.
Yeah, but he's gonna need to get those gases pretty soon because mass charge lot is terrifying, but if it's only charge lot, then it's very easily countered by the Terran player. If Azure, you know, assuming he had the tank still alive from earlier on and the Raven as well, if he pushed out, oh yeah, he does still have the Raven still, but you know, a Raven with full energy is what I mean. If he pushed out just after that attack happened, Pezz would have been looking so vulnerable, so it's really important for him to maintain map control with his chargelets and buy himself the time he needs to tech up.
Oh yeah, like the minimap is terrifying. There's chargelets patrolling all over the place. They're all just swarming the map, mate. Azure finally does land his 3rd CC, so now he can start catching up. I say catching up, I'm pretty sure if you're up against this mass zealot style, counterattacking is really difficult. I think you just have to turtle. You just have to turtle, get your SimCity at your 3rd base, otherwise you're going to be overwhelmed, and just work on, you know, Widow Mines, tanks, Marines, Marauders, until you get Ghosts out, and then you can push out with confidence.
Exactly. And in all fairness to Azure, it's not like Pezz can really push into his position right now. And this is the problem with going mass swarm toss so early on, is that you just don't have your tech. You just don't have your units.
Exactly, like with Mass Zealot like this, it is terrifying if you're fighting in the open, you know? But if you have Widow Mines already borrowed, if you have bunkers, if you have depots, that's also why I'm a little bit concerned though. There we go. Like, Azure needs to work on his own, like, building placement here and be prepared for the next wave, because the next wave is coming. And just like the SimCity that he had at his natural, he needs it at his 3rd. Oh boy.
Yeah, slowly working on it, but understandably he doesn't want to waste too many minerals on his SimCity.
Yeah, I'm so concerned right now. Azure does spot Pezz with a bit of a spotter. He does have a lot of Widow Mines, to be fair, but he needs more than just that, because I feel like it's still an open field.
Yeah, and already a couple of Widow Mines didn't quite get the connections that they wanted. Very good anti-armor missile though, and more Widow Mines do connect. You know, the western front is starting to hold here for Azure, but he is losing the western one.
Yeah, exactly. He loses every single one of those SCVs at the 3rd base location. GG, TvP unwinnable.
Confirmed. GG. Yeah, now that I think about it, it is kind of surprising that Pezz didn't try to go for a TvT.
I thought you were about to say, you know what? Now that I think about it, it is unwinnable.
It is.
GG.
No, PvT is unwinnable.
There you go, mate. GG, well played. To Pezz whipping out that, again, just mass zealot style. We saw Azure defend incredibly well at the natural. I was very impressed with how quick he was to keep rebuilding that wall and just making sure he had that depot up every single time. He defended quite well at his natural. But again, his 3rd base was incredibly exposed. I think he overestimated the power of his minefield, which he did have a pretty impressive minefield, but need a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and on top of that, you know, Pezz was also doing a pretty good job of sending out lone zealots here and there to force the connections from the Widow Mine. So it was only right towards the end there when when Azure's mines were getting juicy connections on top of all these charge slots, but one, it was a little bit too late, and more importantly, two, it also dealt friendly fire at that point.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that we're not going to be seeing Azure in the closed qualifiers here. This is, for now at least, the end of his DreamHack run. But as what the name of the admin? Taunasu. There we go. Taunasu was reminding us all. Technically, there is still a chance for Azure to still be in DreamHack.
True.
He just needs to win ANZ champs and then fly down to the DreamHack Valencia open bracket.
There you go. There you go. That did kind of slip my mind, but you're not wrong. The first place of ANZ champs will get a direct seed and a flight and accommodations paid for to go to Valencia.
Yeah, not the main event itself, but the open bracket. Dude, we're getting open brackets again.
Oh my god, it's great to see. Yeah, it's great to see the return of offline events and everything. It's something that we haven't seen for a very long time. Years, mate. It's been years.
Long time.